In the 2 years that Physical Security Information Management, or PSIM, has become a buzzword in the security industry, there have been a number of large-scale deployments. The Suffolk County, New York Police Department, the Port of Long Beach, California, and New York City's Joint Transportation Management Center are just 3 PSIM users. At the 2010 ASIS Internatiional Seminar and Exhibits in October, Cisco Systems announced it had become the latest company to enter the PSIM market. Here, Cisco Solutions architect Jimmy Newman provides a brief definition of PSIM.
So what we're representing here is, in the case of an incident, what we've done is we brought in a PSIM platform, which is a Physical Security Information Management platform, that acts as the top layer to allow us to integrate video surveillance, access control, other sensors, whether it could be intrusion, let's say fire systems, or other types of sensors, as well as the communications platform on the backside. So what that lets us do is, on the inbound side, if an incident occurs, then we can have these multiple systems. It could be multiple video systems, let's say Cisco and someone else, appear to be one system to the operations environment. So they get a single interface that allows them, regardless of the assets that are out in the field, allows them to interact with those assets and address alerts and alarms that come from them.
Because PSIM serves as a central point for incident information and communications, it adds significant value to computer-aided dispatch, or CAD, systems. We asked PSIM vendors Cisco, VidSys, Proximix, and Intergraph about the complementary relationship between PSIM and CAD, and how it facilitates communications between multiple agencies and incident responders.
So there are a number of ways that we're finding agencies that are working in conjunction, both between the CAD side of the house or the dispatch side of the house and a PSIM solution. In the enterprise environment, which I find really interesting, it tends to be oriented around having an organization within the company who's handling incoming emergency calls, but being able to make that a natural extension of what they're doing in PSIM. So a medical emergency happens on the 40th floor of a high-rise building, you want to be able to scramble resources and manage that as a situation as a whole, find the nearest security guards or the nearest medical expert and so on. So that's one aspect of the dispatch side. The other, in the safety and security side, tends to be where organizations do dispatch as a normal part of their day-to-day activities. So emergency medical, fire, and law enforcement are the 3 that you see the most. And what they're finding in a lot of cases is that they have in the past have had 2 sets of operations. One for doing dispatching, for handling incoming telephone calls, and another one for handling situations that are spawned by other activities, whether it's fire alarms coming from buildings or whether it happens to be road sensors or so on. And so what they're doing now is they're integrating the CAD environment with the PSIM environment to create a stronger way to manage situations across both sets of functions. And now it doesn't matter whether the situation starts by a telephone call and dispatch sending a message over to the situation management system, or whether it starts by an alarm somewhere in situation management and dispatch becomes an extension of that for getting the first responders to the scene.
Yeah, the computer-aided dispatch system may be what generates the initial call, right? So you may get a 911 call, and you can do integration on the backside to the point where the 911 call comes in and you get an address, 123 Main Street. Well, by default, when you type in 123 Main Street, you can have that issue a command to the system, which will then go and read the GPS locations of, say, the camera locations, and it'll bring up those cameras. So you can tie it in that way. You can tie it in to pull up maps, for example. As long as you have a mapping system, you could have, I'm going to say, maybe Esri or Microsoft Maps or somebody as your base map system for your agency. You can tie it into that, so when you type in that address, it automatically pulls up that, and you could have it pull up the one that has the overlays of your assets that are there, access control, video, and so forth, so you can start to point and click your way through it.
Now, specific to the computer-aided dispatch, when the port decided they were going to use our system to integrate information, one of the things they thought about computer-aided dispatch in general was computer-aided dispatch is great for calling out to first responders, for tracking that first response and for managing the life cycle of the first response handling of the incident. What they also understood is that what computer-aided dispatch solutions generally don't do, because it's not their primary focus, is integration of technologies. Really, that's where the PSIM or SMP fits. So when they selected our system, they said we would have to integrate with whatever they chose for computer-aided dispatch. At that time we said fine. They went with iView Solutions. iDispatch was their product. So the idea is that there are what the port calls analysts that handle alerts that come in from the automated systems. Phone calls come into a dispatcher who sits behind the analysts, and then for phone call information that comes in, dispatcher enters that information into iDispatch, and then they click on a button that says further investigation is needed. That automatically then calls our application programming interface, which sends information into our system and creates an alert in our system for the analysts to view recorded video and live video of the area, or to pull in information from the other underlying systems, connected systems, to get further event enrichment type of information, how they're going to solve the problem. When those analysts then add comments to that information, they can then say acknowledge or close the information, or acknowledge or close the incident, and then that will push their comments back into iTrack, so all the information is tracked in one report.
Well, we see the computer-aided dispatch is really in the areas of the traditional public safety response management. And if you look around at a few of the verticals that have a security area as well as public safety, that plays very well with the solution that we've built. So if you look at airports, they tend to have police, fire, EMS, and security. The security guys, there's actually two flavors. There's TSA security, and there's also the airport security. Typically the security guys, if they need help, they're going to pick up the phone or yell across the room to the cops to go help them out. So integrating it at the airport level makes a lot of sense. If you look at some transit agencies, the large ones, they have a law enforcement end. If you look at border security, if you look at military installations or government facilities, they tend to have law enforcement and to some extent fire and EMS. But all of those facilities live within the larger context of a region where you've got the local police, fire, EMS, cities, counties, and state level. So in the US especially, because of the very fragmented environment we have with our local government police agencies, interoperating between these systems is becoming a very, very big push and very important need that we're helping to fulfill.
This is Stephen Titch for Security Squared.